All right, son, it's your daddy coming at you. About to change some oil today, trying to give you a reference just in case you ever need to change some oil and God forbid I'm not there to show you. But here you are. First things first, son, you need to know what type of car you're working on, the engine, the size of the engine, and how many quarts of oil it holds. In this case, we're working on an Infiniti. It's a V6, and it holds 5.2 quarts of oil, 3.7 liter V6. Just for curiosity, you always check your dipstick. This measures how much oil you got in there, and I don't know how the oil looks, the color of it. So on the first pull, you always wipe it off, and then reinsert it. Then it'll tell you how much you got. So you're good, but your oil is a little brown. See? So that lets you know that you need to change it. Next step is, son, you get your oil. Now, as I said previously, you need to know the size of your engine, the quarts it holds, the model of the car, and you need to know the weight of the oil. Okay? In this case, this Infiniti holds 5W30. 5 being the weight, 30 being the viscosity, or this whole thing is the viscosity, I believe. And you need to get your oil filter. Once you do this enough, you won't even have to ask nobody what size filter you need or what's the number. You'll know it by heart. In this case, this car is a ST6607, but that will be across any make. So if it was a microguard, it would be MGL. If it was Fram, it would be PH, Wix, WX, WIX, or WX, one or the other, so on and so forth. You're going to take this jack and you're going to find a reliable place under the undercarriage of the car to jack it up on. In this case, this is where I put mine at. Right here. That's where I put mine at. Now, I'm supposed to be a shade tree mechanic, but I can't tell you exactly what that is right there. If this was a truck, right there will be the control arm, and you could jack it up under the control arm. That's also a good spot. Your jack is in place, twist it to make sure it's locked, and now you push this lever down to jack it up. Your jack stand is right beside your jack, and you can twist this lever left to release the pressure, to make all the pressure on the jack, or you could just keep this jack supporting with the jack stand. In my case, I twist it left to put all the pressure under the jack stand, but I keep it tight so that if the jack stand were to fail, it could also fall on the jack as another form of support. Now, what I like to do is, after that, you're gonna get onto this car and you're gonna find your oil filter first. Always find your oil filter first. In that case, here's your oil filter, right beside your oil pan. This houses your oil right here. That houses your oil. This houses the oil that it filters. What I always like to do, son, is I like to take the oil filter off first before I drain the oil. Because if you drain the oil before you drain the filter, and the filter doesn't happen to come off, and by this point you're trying to take it off, you've probably beat the shit out of it by now. You know, you're a sitting duck. But when you get your filter almost loose, it'll start to drip just like this. That means you've been successful, and now you can twist it and spin it all the way off. Filter is off. You always want to check this screw right here and make sure it's tight, and check that base plate to make sure there's no gasket on it, because you don't want your oil filter housing to be double gasketed when you put your next one on. Now, son, you're going to loosen up your drain plug. In this case, I already loosened it. Well, hell, I thought I did. And then it's going to start leaking in a few. And then, yeah, unscrew it a little bit. Now, my daddy was able to pull this drain plug all the way out, but you're going to position your oil, your drain plan in the right spot. And then you just Then you just let your oil drain out into your pan. Got your filter here. You take your filter, check your gasket, and then what I want you to do is get some oil right here on your hands. And then I want you to lube that filter up right there around the gasket. All right, son, now after you plugged yourself, after you put your plug in and your filter on, and you make sure they tight, it's time to remove that oil cap. Now you can start to put your oil in. You can go one or two ways. You can take a funnel, buy that from the store. Or if you don't have one, you can go get one of your jugs that you got in your house. Make sure it doesn't have no water in it. Cut that in half. Use one piece as a pan and use the other piece as a funnel. But you gotta be real careful. See? For me, I'm going to decide to go with the funnel. What you're gonna do is, you're gonna take your time and you're gonna pour this oil into that funnel. Now, son, after you get done with that, you're gonna take your oil cap or engine cap. You're gonna put that on there and tighten that up. Okay. So after you put your oil in, you checked your filter, you checked your drain plug, you disposed your oil, you're gonna get in the car. And turn it on. Now this is for two reasons. For one reason, you know your mileage right there. Your mileage for the focus. Your mileage right there is at 233. So about 3,000 miles after that or so, you could really go up to 4 to 5 really. But after 3,000 miles after that, as a general rule, you're gonna need to do another oil change. And now you successfully completed your oil change.